Okay, thank you everyone for joining today. Today we'll do a little bit of an interactive uh, session. So I would request you to close to your stay close to your systems. Um, so we'll be talking about uh, the 10 C's to see Krishna. So the C as in C as in cat. So the 10 C's to see Krishna. And I'll go through the 10 C's. And I think where the interactive part comes is for each C. So each of the C is it's like a milestone in our journey as we are making a journey into Krishna consciousness. And all of us have encountered, experienced the C's in one way or the other. So it'd be nice for us to share with each other how did we deal with that particular C. So I'll start with the Manglachan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Deenataranam Parmanandam Madhavam. In various Vaishnava literatures, we are given a bit of a roadmap because the spiritual journey is unique in a way that not many people embark on it, and it's a transcendental journey. So the empirical part of it is limited and subjective. So the various scriptures, the various acharyas, they call ahead. They give us a sense of what's coming ahead, talk about the milestones. We see in the Padma Purana the stages of bhakti, Ado Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sang, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhav, and Prem. So we see those milestones there. We also see in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu the broader categorization of Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari, neophyte devotee, medium advanced devotee, and fully advanced devotee. So what we are discussing today is curated more from empirical experiences of devotees sharing with one another. There is obviously an overlap between what we study in the scriptures and what we'll discuss. But per se, it's not in its totality defined in any of the scriptures. As I mentioned, it's mostly empirical, observational, experiential, which is why I'm keen, and I'm sure you would also be, to see how we have dealt with these milestones and what our experiences are. So let's begin with the 10 C's. The first C is change. And one typically um, does anything that is not not routine or on the beaten path, uh, driven by a desire for change. So the impetus of the change may be different things. Like some people, they may get on the weighing scale and they say, I'm, I'm, I'm getting too much of weight, so I need to exercise. That's the impetus of the change. So there's a lifestyle change. Or sometimes you go to your doctor and the doctor says these numbers are not good. You need to make these changes in your diet or in your habits. That's the impetus of the change. Or sometimes a person wants to uh, get a different job, so they go for training, they learn a new skill. So that's the change. The impetus of the change is desire to work on something else. So typically when when we embark on some new path, um, it's driven by a desire for change, internal or external. And this is where I wanted to hear from you, and hopefully I hear from different people at different points of time, just to make it more interesting, rather than one person. And nothing wrong in that, but just to make it more interesting, it would be good for different people to contribute their own um, experiences. So maybe we can hear from somebody as to what was the desire for change um, that prompted them to take to the path of Krishna consciousness. So there is a feature in this to raise your hands, and I think that would help from prevent people from talking over each other. Or maybe this is the first one, so I can start with it. That um, and this is, of course, we are in our Namhat family. So of course this is going on Facebook also, but uh, uh, it's still a relatively small group. So I can share that even though we had started visiting the temple, but uh, but I think our desire for change was largely driven because we were getting overwhelmed by the by the material aspect of the existence. So um, new job, new family, new child, new place, um, being isolated all by ourselves, no family, and we had friends, but more like social friends. And I think that was something, and it's not something that we were consciously aware of. It's not something that we sat down and said that this is getting too much, or this particular aspect is pulling us down. But when we retrospected, then it came out more clearly that that we were feeling this sense of being overwhelmed. And when the opportunity came, and of course we took to it gradually, we didn't take to it overnight. And when the opportunity presented itself, then there was this desire for us to see if we can change our current situation. It was um, mm, from a completely material perspective, it was not so bad. People might say it is good. It was good. Um, there was a new job, which was a good job. New family, which is a happy thing. but of course, it all added up to like they say, the sum was less than the parts. So we were kind of, I guess, looking for some kind of a change. And I know that even before we took to ISKCON per se, or Krishna consciousness, we were already kind of looking in that direction. At that time, I remember there was this, and it's probably before most of yours time, but there was this famous, now famous, at that time it wasn't that much, CD that was released by Jagjit Singh called Krishna. And they had a whole bunch of, he had a whole bunch of Vaishnav songs actually. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Bhajo Reman, and then Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, then Vaishnava Jana. I forget the other words, Indulekha might remember. So I know there was this CD shop close to my work in DC, and and there's people in waiting. So so we got that, and that used to play non-stop in our house. We used to put it on. We used to put it in that loop back mode. And then Indulekha is reminding me that we had actually gotten, even before that, I think that we had gotten from India a CD of the Om chanting. It was basically chanting Om, and we used to play a lot of that. So there was some latent desire for change, and it kind of became more and more prevalent as you know, as we progressed. So generally, when people take to Krishna consciousness, is driven by this desire for change. Scripturally, it's understood that the person has some level of disenchantment or discontent with the current state of affairs. In some cases, it is mild, some cases it is severe, but it is there. Krishna says it himself in the Bhagavad Gita, that when somebody starts looking upon this material world as a place of misery and a place of that lacks permanence, dukhalyam ashashvatam, then the person begins to search for transcendental reasons. So it also kind of validates a lot of things that we do. We find out that yes, you know, Krishna has already predicted it. Srila Prabhupada has called it out, so it's documented. So that's the first C, which is the desire for change. Anybody would like to add their own experiences?
Prabhu, I have something to say. Yesterday, I was watching news. There's an anchorman called Sudhir Chaudhary. He gives news about called DNA state of affairs there. And he said in India, there is about 1.5 lakh people, they commit suicide, you know. And lately it has been a lot more than it has been in the past, you know. And he says people are more and more dissatisfied, you know, compared to it was before. And that is one of the things that's lacking. There, people don't have the discipline, you know. If they have all these things, you know, they have Krishna in their life, then that will not happen very. He said that. Then
Absolutely. Yeah, you're very right. It's because of the lack of having an anchor.
Yeah,
people feel that they're just being just floating. So let's move on to the next C. And typically following change, the next C is curiosity. That obviously there are there are more than one ways where a situation may be remediated. Right? If a person is feeling dissatisfied with the current state, they need a change. Then how to affect that change? Right? It's called creative tension. That there is a present state, there is a desired change, there's a creative tension between the two, and then the person looks to remediate the tension. There are many ways, obviously, to do it. Some people take to working even harder. They immerse them even more so, and something. Some people take a hobby. Some people take to music. Some people take to intoxication. Many ways in which it begins with curiosity. That I have this creative tension in my life. I'm here, and I know that I need a change. I need to be somewhere else, and I'm curious. How do I resolve this my present state from my desired state? And so maybe somebody can comment or share their own experiences on this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Maybe I can share my
Yes, please, Sachijeevan.
transition to Krishna consciousness. So I think my family, as it is, was following Vaishnavism. So from the childhood itself, we are kind of inclined, though we are worshipping all the deities, including Shiva, Devi, and all of them. But primarily being from the Kshetra of Jagannath Ji. So there was inclination was there. And then when we came outside of Odisha, it's kind of become more intense. And the kind of association I got, I would say I was very fortunate. The association I got from the work, there was a very nice devotee who was my co-worker. He kind of made it much simpler. So for me, it's what kind of fall in natural place. And of course, at that time, I was more kind of a bachelor. So prasadam, as many of us were attracted by the prasadam, that was also one of the factors. So for me, the motivation was kind of I would say the Lord's arrangement that he arranged good devotees who guided me to, kind of follow more rigorously Krishna's path. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, Indulekha.
Yeah, since you're talking about C for curiosity, I would just say I was curious about this whole concept of life and what's after life, after death, and I was looking for answers to those questions, and why this disparity in the different levels, the statuses of people. Some are like super rich, super, and then there are those super poor, and what are the reasons, karma, what is karma, etc., etc. So that was my curiosity.
Thank you. And actually, in the Vedanta Sutras, it is said that one's spiritual journey begins with curiosity. Right? There is the Sutra Tato Brahma Jigyasa, that now let us inquire into the nature of the absolute. So that inquiry is driven by curiosity. That as Indulekha is saying, that why is there happiness and unhappiness? Why is there disparity? Why is good things happening to bad people and bad things happening to to good people. So curiosity is something. Even when we and none of these are like, so these are not in a way sequential stages that once we cross them, we cross them. But there are things that we constantly keep revisiting. So we'll notice that this curiosity, it stays with us, whether you've been practicing for one month, 1 year, or 20 years. That the curiosity will continue to drive. The nature of the curiosity might change. You might start inquiring about other things. Earlier on, it might be more general things, then maybe more specific things. What's the Shintaveda Tattva? What is Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva? How is this world created? More specifics. What is Mahaprabhu's Vipalamba Bhav? Right. So it becomes more and more detailed, but that curiosity continues to stay, just like the desire for change continues to stay. So these are not stages that we pass by and just never look back, but they're almost cyclical, and they keep coming back again, over and over again. So anybody else would like to share their experience with respect to curiosity?
So this is Vijaya. Haribol, everyone.
Haribol, Vijaya.
So I think I'm following the same path as Indu, but not that intense. I think my curiosity is, like you said, the 4 questions. And I'm also brought up in a religious house. My mom is very religious, fasting, all kinds of austerities and vratas and everything. But I think I didn't get the answers what I was looking for. And so, like Sachidan Prabhu said, it's Krishna's arrangement or mercy that I had the Bhagavad Gita written by Prabhupada at my place without even my intention of getting it. So, luckily I came to, Patama's temple. So my curiosity, I think after that, it's not, as you're saying, my curiosity did not increase. I think I'm just satisfied with Mahamantra chanting. I know I don't do the rounds, but it's constantly on my tongue. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but my curiosity led to surrender to the Mahamantra. That's it. So I think that's exactly right. That's all I want to say. It's just those 4 questions you said. Why things happen the way they happen. That's it.
Thank you, Vijay, for sharing.
So for me, the curiosity was more. This curiosity was more, very honestly. I didn't have the existential questions as such, but what I guess attracted me the most was, we have this whole concept of ISKCON and ISKCON devotees in India, and so I was very curious to know as to what is, attracting someone who does not belong to the Indian, so-called Indian culture, embrace the practices of Indian tradition and culture, and not only embrace them, but like actually abide and live their lives. Like I think I still have that curiosity when I see like Narayani Mataji or when I see Venkata Maharaj, like the dedication and the surrender with which they have, led their lives. It's remarkable. And I don't want to offend anyone by saying this, but I really feel that for people who are not from the Indian background, it must be so much more challenging. So I think that was my point of curiosity. And then that's when we started going to the temple actually. And we used to attend the Bhagavad Gita class by Bhayahari Prabhu. And I remember telling him this also, that because I remember he had asked us, like, what makes you come to the temple? And I was very, I guess, I don't know, naive or what. And I told him that it's amazing that you can recite Sanskrit slokas. And, I feel very encouraged that I need to know my culture too, right? If someone else who does not belong to my culture is knowing so much more about the tradition and the spirituality part of it. And that's how we started attending the Bhagavad Gita lectures. And slowly and steadily, it was such a gradual process. So when you actually asked us the question of impetus, I was really thinking very hard, like what was the defining point? And I can't really point out one single, time point because it has been such a gradual process. I remember telling him that, I feel very nice when I listen to your lectures. On Monday, Tuesday, I'm all pumped up, and Wednesday onwards, it just starts getting clouded. And that's when he suggested us that we need more association, and that's how we ended up in Namahatta. So, that has been the journey, and that's it.
Thank you, Priyanka. And yes, actually, it's interesting you mentioned this curiosity regarding people with Western bodies taking to Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada would actually capitalize on that when he went back to India after some success in the West. Then he had what he called the World Sankirtan Party tour, and he traveled all over India with his leading devotees. They were all Westerners, and he would actually call them his dancing white elephants. The white elephants are such a rarity that anybody finds out there's a zoo with a white elephant, they would rush to see it. And he affectionately called his disciples that. And he said, people will come just curious to see who is this Western person singing kirtans. But that curiosity will lead them to listen to the kirtan, get attracted to the message, and take consciousness. So Prabhupada would actually, he would actually, once somebody asked Prabhupada that, can you perform miracles? And he said, yes. And he pointed at his disciples. He said, these are my miracles. So yes, the curiosity is a powerful draw, especially in this context. Also, thank you for sharing.
This curiosity aspect actually, it all started like from TV Ramayan those days itself. Like, one episode happens, like, I used to actually trouble my mother with so many questions. And some they could answer, like, why Hanuman not take back Sitaji, or if Ram is God, right? So he can just wish that Ravan will die. Why he has to fight like that? So many I used to have. And I even think that what God must be doing, he is there, so he must be there somewhere. So what he must be doing this time now? So will he play, like those kind of things also? Some at least at that time appear silly, although they are not confident or concrete thoughts. That was there from very childhood. And later it was a little bit more too also, if really God is there, why so many people are suffering, and other things are also there. He can just, if he thinks everything can, like that, there it is there from long time. But devotees helped me to clear my many doubts, and like that, so it was more clear.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. Meenu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So what I was thinking is almost the same kind of, in the same line which Indu Mataji was just discussing. I mean, this is always, I'm always curious about our reincarnation and stuff, because if you think about it, the person dies, and with the person, the bodies dies too. And the brain and brain cells, everything, nothing is there. But then when the reincarnation means when they still remember the previous life and everything. So it was really amazing, and I just get confused. Is there any role for the brain, or is there really exists? So those kind of thing, I was always curious about it. So it's just whatever the God created, so it's really amazing. We just can That is something I was just thinking. Yes, the reincarnation thing is the one which is always giving.
Thank you, Meena. So it's interesting that we covered 3 distinct phases in terms of objects of curiosity, in terms of the laws of nature, in terms of devotees, in terms of the Lord Himself. So one way or the other, there was some aspect of curiosity that drove us to Krishna consciousness, which brings us to the third C, that is courage. So courage is very, very important, because taking to the path of spirituality is kind of like breaking away from the mainstream and switching directions. Even in India, sometimes we think that, well, we are in America. It's a country where it's not very conducive for overt spiritual practices. But even in India probably it is a little bit more difficult there. Just because there is a lot more of the conventional settings that is there to pull you back. Right? If you say that, well, I want to take to Krishna consciousness, and then your family says, well, why exclusively Krishna consciousness? All gods are the same, and make sure you don't offend Lord Ganesh, and you'll have a lot of obstacles in your life, and make sure you worship here and there, etc., etc. So here at least there is some kind of insulation from there, but there are different kinds of challenges over here. So it definitely takes a fair bit of courage to be different. Right? This is one of the advertising mottos also, right? Have courage, be different there. And so wanted to hear, and like I said, it would help to hear from different people for different C's, so that we get a nice commingling of personal realizations. So wanted to hear about this aspect of courage. That how did you face it? What was your experience? I see Shivani has her hand up. Please go ahead, Shivani.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So while you were talking, I was, just thinking that since the start of Krishna conscious journey, you really need to have courage, because the percentage of people who are following Krishna consciousness is very less in number compared to, and even if they are from Indian background, it's hard to believe in the first place. And even if you have that faith, that conviction based on Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, it's hard to pass it on. It's not that easy for others to have that same faith and believe in what you are saying. And that includes even, your close family members, relatives. It's not very easy, to say that you are dedicatedly doing this now and you don't want to do the other things now. Even like in India, I was just thinking there are a lot of fastings, right? Even Karwa Chauth fast and a lot of fast. It's hard to say you won't, you don't want to do it because there is something, more superior and you want to commit to that. You would rather want to do Ekadashi fasting than doing Karwa Chauth fast. So, and on similar lines, in every Hindu family or in every Indian family, you would have a lot of deities in your temple altar, right? So it's hard to even, take those deities off, whether it be Durga Mata or Shivji ji or Ganesh ji, and, say, okay, now dedicatedly Krishna, dedicatedly Gauranitai. So it requires a lot of courage, and you have to have that conviction and that faith and right knowledge that you are doing the right thing to proceed. And even in the social setting, you have your friends, you have your office colleagues. It's not easy, and especially if you'll invite them at home, your kids, friends and families, and you'll be like, oh, you don't even eat onion garlic at house? Forget about other things, not even onion garlic. So it requires, some conviction from your end and some courage to, say that out and, let people know about your faith.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And it's also internal because you also tend to question yourself that, am I doing the right thing? Am I jeopardizing my career? Am I jeopardizing my social standing, my family relationships? So these are all things that define us, our relationship with the society, with our family, with our friends. And when we make this change, we already see that they're being jeopardized. You tend to lose your, at least some of your friends, you tend to lose. You tend to be excluded from functions. I know we stopped getting called to most of the parties because even though we didn't say, but we would not actually go and eat over there just because of onion garlic, etc. And the host would actually be uncomfortable that everybody else was eating and you would be just standing there, either eating salad or some fruits. So they would just take the easier way out and not invite us. And then we did feel that this is we did feel scared, right? We did feel scared that we're walking on a path, not sure where it's going to take us there. So I completely agree with the point you were making, Shivani. Anybody else would like to share their experiences?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Bol, Akshay.
So, Prabhuji, I've still been trying to find a reason, like why did I come to Krishna consciousness? There happens to be so many reasons, and I believe you are going to cover it in the following series also, which will help me put things together. Okay. But based on this particular C of courage, there are a couple of things that come to my mind. One of my key drivers has been my father, who, obviously we weren't into Krishna consciousness, and I've been seeing him since childhood days that he has a motto that, do ever what is right, care less for the society what they think of yourself, because society is anyways going to talk, good or bad. But if you feel it's right, go ahead with it. And obviously there's affection and respect. You know him, he's so much involved with kids. So he supports us in any way. When I started Krishna consciousness, then obviously, there were so many questions and almost fights that we had with issues that, my mom as well, she's so much into other religious practices where she follows, so many demigods, and she does things based on the Vedic calendar. So I used to question, and tying this back to the previous point, the previous sea of curiosity, I think that is also one of the aspects why I came to Krishna consciousness, because there were so many questions that I used to ask the Pandits who used to come, Pujaris used to come to do Satyanarayan Puja or everything. And there were really so many, I could only relate to so much with them. There were still so many questions unanswered. And there's this particular norm also in India, or at least part of culture that I come from, that you can only question so many times. After you question, after that, the next question comes, you are really shut down. I mean, you're shot down. Whatever elders say, that is the right way. And so Krishna, coming to Krishna consciousness, it really gave me a fresher perspective as to that this is a safe place for asking questions. And all the devotees, they answer you with so much of patience and love, and they make sure that they have the best well-wishing for you. So that kept me going on with the courage as to that this is the right path.
Thank you, Akshay Prabhu. Thank you for sharing.
Prabhuji, I have something to say too. You know.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Why did I join? Like Akshay Prabhu said, you know, what was the reason I hanged on to this? You know, many people, I'm giving you an example, you know, why do people buy Honda or Toyota car? Because it has good results, you know, that's why you buy it. And when I came here and I saw all those people, they were like, you know, Hondas, hey, good car, good product, you know, hey, that's the way to go. I don't know much of the doctrine, you know, and neither do I care for the doctrine. You know. But I look at the final results. Like Akshay Prabhu said, everyone is very nice, very humble, you know, and that's all that life is all about it, you know. And this is good old America. Nobody cares, you know. You do whatever makes you happy, you know. So that's the reason I joined. And that's why I hanged on to Krishna consciousness.
Very interesting. And yes, very relevant also that we are, and I'm again tying it back to a statement that Prabhupada would often make, that people might come to Krishna consciousness for different reasons, but they stay because of the devotees. They might come because so many reasons. That's what we were talking about. But ultimately, they stay, or he would say, or they leave because of the devotees. So they were in the past when the movement was young, and there were people with different mentalities. But yes, there were times also that people came, they loved the philosophy, they loved Krishna, they loved Kirtan, but they just had a very difficult time with the devotees. So both ways, very, very important. So we talked about 3 C's so far. We talked about how based on different impetus, there is a change, desire to change, and there's a curiosity of how to affect that change, how to make the change happen. And then there is a courage to follow through with it. The 4th C is conviction. And Shivani spoke about it when she was sharing, almost, and I do agree with her, almost synonymously with courage. The slight difference is that courage is what lets you make the change. Conviction is what helps you stay. Right. So because of courage, you might say that now I will do something different, and you might make that change. But if you don't have conviction, then you won't stay there. You will jump off. So the 4th C is conviction. What is it that convinced us to stay? And I do realize that we are overlapping. Like Avinash Prabhu was sharing that he was appreciating the conduct of devotees, and that helps stay. Kind of comes in somewhat in the area of courage and conviction. So want to hear from somebody else in terms of what is it that builds conviction? that this is the place where I would like to invest my time, my energy, my faith. Faith is one of the most precious things that we have in our life. We hold it very, very dear to us. And like they say in a relationship, right? When one person loses faith in another person, that's the worst thing that can happen in a relationship. You know, people may quarrel, or people may not get along, but you know, the relationship is still alive. But when one person loses faith in another person, that's pretty much, you know, the death knell for the relationship. So, um, what is it that has convinced you to continue to invest your faith, your precious time, your energy, your sensibilities into this process? Maybe some devotees who haven't spoken up so far, I'd love to hear from them.
Yeah, I will talk about my experience, Guruji. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
So, yeah, I have been, I started to go to the temple, I think way back in 2003 when I first came into the area. And one of my actually friends brought me there. So I've been going, but not very regularly. Then became more regular after Aradhana came in, and then so you know the difference between this Krishna society and the other the traditional way of worshipping and belief system is I could I have said before also that I could relate more to the Krishna because here is an entity which is he was born here and lived a life in the form of human being even though he was God. And he did everything that human does, but also occasionally when needed, he showed his power. Obviously, when he killed all these demons and did good things for the people. So compared to other gods, there's I can relate more to that. So and also, Avinash Prabhu said. Or Prabhu is also, I think, alluding to the fact that you can get answers to questions you can ask, and and you can get answers. There is in traditional setting, you're just supposed to worship, believe what the Pandit is saying, not question. Otherwise, you'll be considered rude or immature, not experienced, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's what I think. Attracted me and kept me actually.
Thank you for sharing, Sunil Prabhu. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's something that almost everybody can relate to. The one thing unique in Vaishnava theology, Krishna consciousness, is that questioning is actually encouraged. Right mood, but questioning is actually encouraged, um, as opposed to the more traditional, conventional aspect of Hinduism, where questioning is deemed as challenging, or person being atheist or agnostic, so generally not looked upon as a good thing. And one reason is that most of the questions that you ask do not have answers. Lot of them are traditions that are handed from one generation to another. They may be rooted in the scripture. It's like when Krishna gets up in the morning and he sees Nand Baba and Yashoda Mai busy cooking for some grand feast. And he said, what's going on? And they said, we are going to be worshipping Indra. And he said, why? He said, I don't know. My Nand Baba said, my father used to worship, and before that his father used to worship. It's a long tradition. He said, no, but there must be some reason. And he kept saying, why? And initially Nand Baba tried to answer that Indra gives rain. And says, okay, so if you don't worship him, will he not give rain? I said, no, he probably will still give rain. And ultimately he said, I don't know. It's something, it's a tradition. Don't ask me any questions. And then Krishna said, no, that's not fair. You should satisfy me, or you should then accept my point of view. So that actually goes a long way in building conviction. When you feel that you're not submitting to a dogma, where not just because somebody says it or it's written somewhere, but you're allowed to explore, you're allowed to question, and you're allowed to question the answers also. That goes a long way in building conviction. That it's not it's an open, it's something that is alive. It's not a my way or the highway thing, but it's something that is alive, that is interacting with you. So thank you for sharing, Sunil Prabhu. Anybody else would like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I talk, Prabhu? Share? Definitely, like our Sunil Prabhu is saying, that is the point, Prabhuji, because that is the first step. Actually, it clearly makes most of us stay. Because there are so many questions in our minds and hearts, but they were never answered clearly. So we were driving towards thinking that they are fictional, or who can live 10,000 years, some kind of things, small things also can drive away. And the next thing that I see is like devotees, because I heard that before meeting Krishna conscious devotees, is whenever I see some great personality, we think that it is for them. We can never be like that. And when I hear from devotees, they say that I used to drink, I used to even eat meat, and character wise also they used to go to pub and all. And now when I see them, like, they are far better than me. So, and that gives the hope that they show who we are, and also they give the hope that you can be better. Even the courage aspect also, it helped actually, because yeah, what is the guarantee? Only maybe ISKCON is thinking Krishna is God. What if Krishna is not God? Those were earlier questions, but still, at least minimum, I will become a better person than what I am today. So better, worth trying. So that gives a lot of conviction. So yes. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you. And that's an interesting aspect, that we have different shelters for building our conviction. Prabhu was sharing that it was based on the ability to get answers. And then you're sharing that it's based on seeing devotees who have progressed. It's their progress that's building on your conviction. So thank you for sharing it. Okay, we have Dhaval Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, since we are talking about the conviction, and I just wanted to actually share, something of my experience. And I think for me, I think the conviction has gone up. I think it's the foundation is more of a belief system, because I think anything, that's how my mind works actually. Being a scientist, I always think that for any belief, the base foundation is actually the thought which has to come in your mind. And, once the thought comes, and I think it's eventually after, once you practice that thought again and again, or something which you experience in your life, that thought kind of solidifies, and, that kind of becomes a belief. And I think that's what, through my experience of my life, when I grew up, I think, through my family, I think, we always had that, that base from the foundation to, worship Krishna, and worship any god at that, that point, we were worshiping Srinathji. But I think that thought was always there, that, worshiping Krishna, worshiping, and that belief system has kind of, built that my faith and conviction in Krishna. So I think that's how I've kind of, become more stronger towards following the path. And I think you're right. I think the other factor which is important, and this is about having that courage. And I think, and that has kind of also built up my conviction stronger, because initially when we came and when we joined it, it's been a few years now. And as you said, with your experience as well, when we talk about it, that, when the weekends were there and we were busy and our friends said, where are you going? And, we were kind of a little shy about telling about that, we are going to the, for, Namata or Grupo. And I think eventually, I think that fear or the shyness was gone up, because we've been truthful to ourselves. I think that awareness to be truthful to ourselves and to face that reality, that kind of build conviction and, more strong towards that. And the lastly, I would say that it's more important also, I think, believing in that system in household is also important, not myself, but even Seema. And we started, practicing together. That also has kind of helped us to build our conviction more stronger. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. So so we have time for one more C, and then we'll do the remaining 5 C's next week. So we have change, curiosity, courage, conviction. The next C is commitment, which is which is a kind of a contract that we make, that yes, this is something that I would like to commit. My time, my faith, my energy, whatever that ultimately, there are things that we have that we think that are unique to us, right? We have time that is our time. We have wealth that is our wealth. We have faith that is our faith. We have sensibilities, that's our sensibilities. So when we take to something, then there is this subtle subconscious sorting process that we go through. That what do I commit to this? It's almost like you're taking on, going on a relationship, and how much would you like to commit to it? We meet people, and even outside the Krishna consciousness circle, you meet somebody, and you may like the person, and the next thing that you think is, how much do I commit to this relationship? Do I invite the person over for lunch or dinner, or do I go to their house? Once I've invited them, do I invite them again? Do I spend the weekend with them? How much do I share with them? How much of their sharing do I receive? How much time do I spend? Right? So that's how relationships grow. That at some point, we kind of turn the dial of our commitment, either up or down. If we turn it down, the relationship stagnates and withers away. Turn it up, then if there is reciprocation from the other end, it grows stronger. So we did the same thing with Krishna consciousness. So we were at a point, we had some kind of conviction, and then the big question came that what do I commit to it? Do I commit my Friday evenings to it? Do I commit my 1 hour every day, or 2 hours every day in the morning, or sometime in the morning? Do I commit a change in my lifestyle to it? Different levels of commitments. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a process. It's not that we sit down one day and write a letter of commitment and seal it, but we begin with small commitments, and then the commitments grow or decline, one way or the other. So, so wanted to hear what were your experiences when you were making these commitments? I mean, the fact that you're all here obviously means that you have gone through the stage of thinking about it and seeing, doing a cost benefit analysis of the commitment, that this is going to cost me, whether it's in terms of all those things that I mentioned, my time, my energy, my faith, etc. What's the benefit that I'm going to what's the benefit I'm going to get, and where's my commitment dial going to be? So thoughts. Yes, Akshay Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. This might seem very simplistic or naive as well, but I think you have to give energy in order to gain energy. So if there's one thing of all the things that are there in front of me as responsibilities or duties, how do I find a balance in all of them, and how do I efficiently and effectively do them? Then I guess this is the only answer that comes to me, like putting energy in spirituality, and that really gives you the courage to deal with any of the roadblocks that even come in the rest of your duties. And even if we fail, we know that there's a perspective for that failure as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, and thank you for pointing it out. That concomitant with the commitment is also the understanding that there might be failure. Right? You're going down this path that obviously is different from what others are going down, and in doing so, you're making some decisions that will have impact later on. Maybe you break some relationships, maybe you make some lifestyle choices that have impact on your career. And then what if it doesn't work out? There are some things that you can take back, some things you cannot. And so that definitely, the prospect of possible failure is definitely one aspect in deciding on this commitment. I was also curious to see that what was the commitment that was made, the nature of the commitment.
Prabhuji, I have something to say.
Okay, I see Indulekha raising her hand before you, so I'll let her speak.
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Indulekha. You're on mute right now.
Okay. Sorry. Just saying, I was reminded of Prabhupada's statement, made a couple of times, saying that we have to be prepared for different kind of challenges in our, in practicing Krishna consciousness, because we are going against the current of the society, general populace. So yet we have to, I guess for me, myself, I should talk about is the only thing that keeps me committed is because I have felt that the process does work, that Krishna does reciprocate. There is something about chanting that, changes our life in our minds, our hearts, in a more positive way. And of course, yeah, there are challenges and there are the down days also when we're not feeling like when we're questioning what's going on here. But then I guess the philosophy and devotee association, hearing hearing senior Vaishnavas, so that just gives us the strength, a lot of strength to keep going forward, just moving along, cruising. Even if it's a cruising along, we just keep going. That's my C for commitment.
Thank you for sharing. And commitment actually is probably the cornerstone of any relationship, including our relationship with Krishna. Right? We know that Krishna, in a subtle way and sometimes in a more direct way, he's asking for this commitment. And it's not just Krishna. Any relationship that we go through, we ask for commitment. Krishna, of course, asks for exclusive commitment because there is only one God. And but also, like when we marry, we ask for exclusive commitment. We don't say that, make sure that I'm one of your husbands and make sure that I'm one of your wives, right? We say I'm your only husband, only wife there. So some relationships do demand exclusive commitment, and some require commitment, maybe not exclusive. You're my friend, I'm your friend. I recognize you have other friends, but at least we are friends with each other. We help each other out, with siblings, with family. Not the only family member, but we are family, so there's some commitment over there. So commitment is actually the cornerstone of a relationship, and that's where the progress seriously begins. Till the 4 C's before that, it's still exploratory. Right? The person is looking around, making some exploratory moves, trying things out, investing a little bit of time and energy, ready to withdraw if things don't work out. But commitment is when the person now says that this is where I would like to stay. This is my home. This is my resting place. And like Indulekha pointed out, that's when the reciprocation also becomes tangible. Many times people say that what keeps the devotees going? And it's the reciprocation. When does the reciprocation come? When Krishna sees commitment. Right? If you don't put sugar in your milk, you can't expect your milk to be sweet. So if you don't put commitment in a relationship, you cannot expect the relationship to mature. So when Krishna sees we are putting commitment, then he reciprocates. He gives us realizations, he gives us assurances, explicitly, implicitly, from within, from without. So this is the point where I would like to stop today. The idea is that we do the 10 C's leading to the big C. So anybody would like to guess what would be the big C that these 10 C's will lead to?
Commitment.
Close. The big C is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have the appearance day of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming up. The idea is that we have these 10 C's leading to the big C, which is our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And also wanted to thank all of you. I'm also looking forward to hearing from those who are either a little shy or perhaps are preoccupied elsewhere, to hear from them. I'm looking forward to the participation next week. So we'll stop over here, and we will do our one round of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is the C that always comes, chanting. So we will chant, and after that we will have our Narsingadev prayers. So I'll get my chanting. So if you could unmute yourself so that we can all hear each other chanting. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna.